Welcome to the Psychedelic Mindscape, a podcast that delves into two fascinating topics: psychedelics and leadership. I'm your host, Victoria Lauren, and today I'm speaking with Justin Coates. Justin Coates is a passionate leader in AI integration and personal development, with a journey that spans the Marine Corps, technology, and entrepreneurship. He brings a fresh perspective to how we think about AI, making complex ideas simple and usable for anyone. Justin believes in the power of people, not just technology, to drive real change. And he's dedicated to helping leaders tap into AI's potential while keeping the human element at the forefront. Thank you so much for joining me, Justin.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Victoria. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Well, so I want to just give our audience kind of a sense of who you are and, kind of what brought you to the present moment. I'll just say, for background, for individuals, you are leading a company. You've co-founded it with your partner, and
hmm
you guys have a team. This is neesh.ai, which will have links and everything. But yeah, maybe start with just a little bit about the business, the company
Okay.
itself, and then I'd love to explore kind of how you came to that.
Yeah, totally. So our business is really centered around educating and teaching people how to use artificial intelligence tools and how to integrate them into your business, into your job. And so, what we do is we sit down, we break the barriers, the fear, the hesitation. We answer questions. We make the unknown known, and then we show you how to use the tool and how you can get all the productivity and efficiency gains. Everything on there's good and bad news articles and headlines out there. So all the good news articles say, saving millions and hundreds of hours and time and whatnot. So that's what we do is we help you, the human, understand how to use these tools, and then for the business itself, we help integrate the right tools and provide employees the right training.
That's awesome. And are you specializing in any particular, customer segment? Like who is the ideal person that you're working with or the ideal company?
This is a terrible answer for any marketing professional or anybody in sales. It's a terrible answer, but our niche is humans. These tools are ubiquitous for everybody, and so that's kind of that's my focus. That there's a little bit deeper meaning to that. So from a business perspective, for all of you business audience members, we do have a focus on medium-sized businesses, and we have niched down our ideal customer profile. So don't worry about that. But from the perspective of humans and the impact that this technology has on us, it's really difficult for me personally to say, no, I'm only going to focus on these people. It's extremely difficult in this realm. And part of it is just because of how universal these tools are. They're very unique. Victoria, once you start using it for you and teach it about you, it becomes a tool and a partner with you specifically. If I went to use your version, let's say, of ChatGPT, after you've customized it, it would not talk to me the way that I need to be talked to. It would give me good information, but it would not give me the information in a way for me to continue using it or get the most out of it. And vice versa. If you were to use mine, you would get good information, but it wouldn't be in the way that you need to use it or get that information.
Interesting. So you're
Yeah.
not only tailoring to the business and the business needs, but to the individual, to the human.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you kind of take a step back and listen to what all the I don't want to call them experts because they're a level above, all the people creating this technology. If you step back and listen to what they're saying it's for humanity. There's nearly 8 billion people on this planet. So yes, it's very unique, and it can be your version of your profile of ChatGPT is can be just as unique as you are, and very different from me. Um, so yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Do you mind giving us just maybe like an example or two of something that you've implemented, something that you're excited about or really proud of, kind of the impact that it had, or it could also be just from your personal life, but to give the audience kind of a sense of, yeah, what might this do for them?
Um, yeah, there's there's a lot, and it. Whenever I get this question, I have a hard time answering because I don't want to go too small where, yeah, I have it help me with my emails. Yes, I do that. But then I also don't want to go like too extreme to say that I just had a strategic strategy conversation with one of my custom digital assistants, digital teammates, where we created a team of 8 different people to perform individual tasks and projects within this overarching project that we're working on, and that my digital teammate is now managing those 8 other digital assistants that it created to help me complete this one project, right? So like
Interesting.
everything in between. um, but as far as direct use cases, to give you an example and give the audience an example, um, I work out with a group of men 3 or 4 days a week, and it's peer led. So we rotate who's leading the workout that day. And it was my turn to lead yesterday. And as we were talking a little bit earlier before we started recording, the last 3 weeks have been crazy for me. So I actually forgot that I was leading. And the night before, at like 9 p.m., I hopped onto my digital team and said, go research this website. I gave it the website. I said, go learn about all their nomenclature, how they run workouts, who they are, what their mission is, and use that information and build a workout for me that I can run for the guys that show up tomorrow morning. And it built me a 3 circuit workout that kicked our ass. And it
Amazing.
did it in 15 seconds, right? So, it's like, okay, I also, part of my leadership style is I like to inspire, and I like to um, kind of provide a different perspective. And so, our theme for my workout was trust the process. And so I told it
Mhm.
that. I said, this is the topic that I want to talk about. Please provide an inspirational quote and some information about, what it means to trust the process in life, in fitness, in business. And so it gave me the talking points as well, on top of giving me a workout that kicked our ass.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I love that theme, trust the process.
Absolutely.
That's I'm assuming that your life journey is a part of what taught you to trust the process. So why don't we go back as far back as you want to go, but just kind of help us understand your journey, your story to now running this business.
Sure.
And yeah, if you want to weave in anything about how you got into the psychedelic space as well, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. So touching on the psychedelics, and telling my life story, I kind of have to go all the way back to my childhood. So my father passed when I was 8, and my grandfather passed when I was 9. And
Ooh,
so that definitely made for, a pretty, different childhood than most. And so one of the things that it's really impacted me throughout my life is I didn't really get that passing down of knowledge, or the coming of age. You are now a man. You now have this responsibility. You now, like, this is how you act in life. I just had examples from, those around me, but nothing direct. Right.
yeah.
And this ties into, psychedelics and the journey that I had about 4 months ago now. Um, but that's so, my that happened in, 8, 9 years old. I've lived in, by the time I graduated high school, I'd lived in 21 different houses. So we'd moved a lot. And then after high school, I continued that. I moved a lot and moved here to Bend, Oregon, and met my wife, now wife. And let's see, we met in 2007. And in 2008, we weren't married, still young. I was 21 and she was 19. We had our first child, and that's when life really hit me in the face, and it was like, Justin, you got to figure it out. Um, so I had a dream of being a helicopter pilot, and I now have a family, and I'm thinking, okay, I should go learn how these things work before I go fly them. And so what I did is I joined the Marine Corps, take care of my family, learn a really valuable skill, and also be part of um, a group of people that were really mission driven, really mission oriented. It was really difficult, really hard, and it taught me some amazing life lessons that I would not have the success in my life now if I didn't do that. So it was a very tough but amazing part of my life. And then right after I joined, right after boot camp, we had our second child. So we have a girl and a boy, and so at 23 and 21, we are a young family, moved all the way across the country away from our support group with two like little kids.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a tough 5 years, but in 2015 we moved back to Oregon, um, and where I started pilot training and became a helicopter pilot. And I looked at the future. So I've kind of always been future oriented. Like, how am I going to, succeed and get to where I want to go? And I looked at the future of the aviation industry and my career path. And it was just a lot of moving again. And I didn't really want that for my family. We're okay to move every now and then, but it was going to be moving every 2 years until I got to my career job.
Which can be pretty disruptive. And I wanted to ask, what was it that led your family to all of those moves, to have lived in so many different houses? Was that career driven or
Honestly, I don't know all the nuances to why that happened. I do know that there were parts of it that were relationship driven for my mom. Parts of it were family driven or being driven away by family. Um, so, and then decisions that she wanted to make to give my brother and I the best life that she thought that we should have or that she could give us.
yeah.
And so I know that that's kind of what I know, but I haven't actually just, had that conversation with my mom to say, why did you make all of these decisions?
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
very interesting because you and I actually share that in common. And I don't think I've ever met another human that actually lived in more houses than me.
yeah,
Because by the time that I graduated from, I think it was when I was 21, I had lived in 17 different houses.
yeah.
But you got me
I got
beat.
to be, it got to be. I'm now 37, and I think, if I remember correctly, plus or minus one or two, I've lived in 35 different houses.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
That's very crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
I should do that count. I am also 37. So now I'm like,
yeah. Like,
what is my current count? I have 5 years on a sailboat that I can throw in there.
Whoa,
So,
yeah,
but that was kind of like
that's
the same
cool.
house.
Right, yeah. This is, different locations. Maybe you count each port as a new
Right?
location.
Right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's
That's
cool.
wild. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry to derail us, but you're looking to the future. You're seeing,
Mm.
aviation and technology, which by the way, how long did it take to get like the license for the helicopter? Because I understand that's quite difficult.
It is difficult, but it's also a lot of fun. So it's
Yeah.
kind of really cool. But it took me about a year and a half.
Okay.
I was also the program. Being a veteran, I was able to take advantage of some of the VA schooling. So I was also going through community college at the same time
Gotcha.
to go through it. But so kind of my flight time had to match semester time to meet the credit requirements,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
so it took me about a year and a half to get a commercial rating, um, to where I could then go get a job and be a paid pilot.
Right.
And what I did in that moment was actually evaluate the future, like what's my career path going to look like, and can I handle that? And what ended up happening was I found UAVs, autonomous vehicles, um, and found a couple companies that fly drones, but big ones. Not quadcopters, but like 9 feet, 9 foot long fuselages with 12 feet long wingspan.
Wow.
Um, and that was really cool. And I definitely thought aviation was going to move in that direction a lot faster than it has. And so I jumped over to that side of the house and flew drones as a pilot, professional pilot, and mechanic for a couple years.
Wow.
And that's where I really started to learn what I wanted to do for a business. And my first business was learning how to sell products on Amazon. And I did that in 2017 is when I really started to dive in and learn how to sell products on Amazon. 2018, my family said, "We want you home." So part of the drone job was deploying. I was deployed probably 10 months out of a 12-month time span.
Oh,
And so, so my family was like, "Hey, we want
wow.
you home." Like, yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, "I'd like to see my kids. That sounds nice."
Yeah, absolutely. So what I ended up doing was starting an Amazon agency and working for a product company at the same time as their Amazon guy. And so what I ended up doing was I worked for that company, that product company, for a year. In 2019, I left that company and jumped into my business full time. And what we did was similar to what I'm doing with AI, but with Amazon. So if you were a product company, I would help you integrate Amazon as a profitable sales vertical for your business.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
That's a valuable skill to have.
absolutely. I mean, helped over, I think, over 250 businesses over a 4 year time span add Amazon as a successful channel. It was amazing. Um, and then I grew my agency. I got acquired in February of 22. November of 22, ChatGPT hit the market and blew everybody's mind. And February of 23, I left the company that acquired mine and dove headfirst into AI and ChatGPT,
Amazing.
um, and started tearing it apart. And one of the common themes throughout all of this is, and it works really well with how my brain works, is I tear machines apart, I figure out how they work, I put them back together so they function, and then I teach people how to use them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what kind of got us to here, um, and got me to starting this business of AI, consulting, if you want to kind of wrap it up that way. Um, but there's a couple moments, and we can probably touch on this, but there are a couple moments in March of 23 that really um, gave me a mission for what I'm doing, and gave me a purpose for what I'm doing and for what niche actually stands for. Uh, that that's why we're so human focused and oriented, and not just go technology and forget everything else. It's, yeah, there's a human element, and where does that exist if technology takes over everything?
Yeah. Yeah. That definitely caught my eye. I remember when you and I first connected and seeing that in the signature, right? Of like, don't forget the human element, and it was just like, oh, interesting. Like a technology company that's also focused on people.
Weird. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Well, and then you alluded to the experience. I think you said it was 4 months ago.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, yeah, that you had. And this was done through, well, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it was through the Heroic Hearts Project. This was a
Yes.
group of veterans that were going through a psilocybin journey together. So tell me how you got to that point, and then anything that you want to share from the experience itself.
Yeah. So getting to that point was a journey in and of itself, right? Being in the space, it's very much, being guided by the universe or the energy around you, and really being able to just recognize that and allow it to exist and guide you, have that faith. And being a 19, 20-year old, I had friends that got shrooms, and like, hey, let's go to the movies and take some shrooms, and it's always been intriguing to me, but never the right moment. And so I never took part in it that way. It just wasn't the right moment. I was busy doing something, like, the universe guides, right? And so I kind of forgot about it after that, because, through my story, life hit me in the face, and I had to really, change my focus and become an adult and responsible. And so, um, it wasn't until maybe about 3 years ago, after I'd been doing a lot of self work, meditation, breathing techniques, and just kind of expanding my mind as to what's possible and what's capable within myself. And it started to kind of like, okay, mushrooms exist. When, how, what? I'm not in the underground of society, so I don't know where to buy these things from. And so, it just kind of sat there, and I talked to a couple other veterans here locally, and they told me about this program. And they said, hey, there's this Heroic Hearts program. They're really trying to kick things off for veterans to help through PTSD, through therapy, through trauma, through whatever is going on, and you should check it out. And they'd been telling me that for about a year, and then finally, it was around early May of this year of 24, when one of them texted me and sent me the application, and he said, hey, they're running a program in 3 or 4 weeks. Get on the list. There's a spot for you. And I said, okay. Now, again, the universe guides, it shows you have to take the step, you have to make the move and take action. And this was right before a trip to Hawaii. So I'm like last minute filling out this application. If I don't get it done within the next 2 days, the door closes. So we're getting ready to get on the plane, and I'm finishing the application. I land in Hawaii. I get a phone call that says, you didn't attach this document. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's here. And so we got it all figured out. And 3 weeks later, I was on my journey with 7 other veterans, and all with our own intention, in a group setting, in a ceremony setting, um, and just getting ready for the experience.
Yeah, that's amazing. So it had really been, I guess, calling to you for quite some time.
Hmm.
And I'm also really curious to ask you, because before we started recording, you had been talking about lucid dreaming, and how that was something that you taught yourself, which, like, if you have any tips on, I would love, because I've only had a couple in my life, but I always have very vivid dreams and I remember them.
Oh,
So I'm more focused on like the interpretation, afterwards, but I would love to explore that realm. So I want to hear about that, but I also
yeah.
want to know, like, because you came into your psilocybin journey with already a really firm grasp of that lucid dreaming liminal space,
Hmm.
did it feel familiar? Did it remind you of that space? Were you drawing any connections there? Or for you, was it kind of like, no, this is a totally, totally different dimension?
Um, yes and no at the same time. So this question is actually really interesting, and I appreciate it. In the moment, I didn't really draw parallels to lucid dreaming or a dreamscape. Um, I think if you've experienced it, or if any audience members have experienced it, it's very much its own thing and intense in the moment. So really kind of like escaping that for a moment to be like, what else does this remind me of? That didn't happen, you know? Um, right.
Yeah, all
So
you can do is be present.
yeah, completely. So in the moment, no, it definitely did not remind me of that. But the second part of your question was it familiar, unfamiliar? And it was very familiar. It was, playing in my mind is a thing that I truly enjoy doing. And so it was familiar from that sense of, okay, yeah, I know how to navigate this. I've been here before. Um, and even though you're not really in control during a journey, there was, for me, definitely a level of, okay, like I've been here before, I know what's going to go on, and there's probably going to be some rough moments and there's going to be some great moments, and um, but it's not, it wasn't something where it was completely unknown and I wasn't ready for.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. When you went into it, if you're open to sharing, I'd love to know just what your intention was.
Oh, yeah, intention is paramount. It is probably one of the most important things to focus on and to prepare with before going into a journey, or really using any substance or meditating, right? Or breathing practice. Intention is so powerful. Um, and I got some advice before I went. So I have some friends who they do it almost annually, or very ritualistically. And the advice that I got from probably three or four different friends was go with love and curiosity. And they all kind of said that, and which is my nature. I'm a very curious human, but my intention, I've spent a lot of time on self work and development and just kind of leveling myself up over and over and over and over. And I now read high performing books, habits, and like how the successful people operate, and they're all familiar to me now. It's like, okay, I'm doing like 8 out of 10 of these things. And so my intention going in was transcendence. How do I go beyond where I am now? Because I know that it is possible.
Yeah.
I don't know the skill, or I don't know the process of how to do that. So that's my intention. Let me do that. Um, and I think it's good to note the style of the psilocybin journey that I went on was a 2-day event. So it was a 5-day retreat with 2 days of going on a journey. And so the first day was, that was my intention, was transcendence. And in whatever form it came in, that's just kind of what I wanted. Is I wanted to level up again.
Yeah.
And the second day, my intention was explore the future. And so that one's very, very interesting. I don't know if I will revisit the future, but those were, so 2 days of a journey. And the first day was 4 grams. The second day was 4.5.
Okay. And were they
And
back to back those two journeys, like one day and then the next day?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. Yep. With the way that they did it was amazing. We had facilitators and integrators, and our coaches were there, and so during the journey, it was a really great setting, very safe, very guarded. Everybody was there. It was a group setting, but if you were just needed some space or to be alone, there were rooms that they would take you to, so you could be alone. People there to listen to you if you just needed to talk and get something out, or take notes for you, bring you water. I mean, it was a really great experience, and really just let you focus on being inside of your brain, or whatever that means to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was super cool, super supportive. And afterwards we had some we called them the ceremonies. We just kind of sit in a circle and just kind of talk about our experience, and how it's impacting us, and how we think it's changing who we are,
Yeah.
and who we want to become.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it was a really kind of great experience.
Yeah. I'd be curious, did your perspective of your self, or your self concept, did that change for you with the journey?
um, in two ways. So the first day was a really big, um, you could almost say it was a realization moment, but what happened in my journey is, so this is why it ties back to me being 8 years old and losing my father, and 9 and losing my grandfather. Was I spent, in during my journey, I spent 1,000 years watching my ancestors do coming of age ceremonies and passing down the wisdom.
Oh,
It
wow.
was incredible.
That would be incredible.
It was amazing. Just watching the ceremony, watching how it was done, and doing that for 1,000 times, 1,000 years was, so incredible. So day one, that was the biggest thing that stuck for me. We were 4 grams is a lot. We were in it for probably about 5 hours. And I didn't move. I sat on the edge of my bed for 5 hours. So like, just inside, man, like,
Wow.
just inside, exploring, watching the coming of age ceremonies. It was amazing. And coming out of this, the biggest change for me was the confidence in the journey and the path that I'm on in my life. Um, with teaching people and guiding people with this new technology, and really the mission that I have for it is ushering humans and businesses into this new era of technology. The conviction that I came out of that journey with for my mission was, it's 100%. There is no question this is where I need to be. There is no question this is the journey and the path that I'm on. And the work that we're doing with Niche is impactful and will impact humanity on a massive scale. No question, zero doubt, 100% conviction. And I've never felt that before, right? Um, like, I've been sure, and I've been positive that the path that I'm on is working and it's going, but I've never had conviction to this level.
Yeah.
And so there, I kind of like, I reached that transcendence, right? I got a lot of my ancestors' wisdom. I saw that. I was a part of that. I no longer have that gap of, my dad didn't teach me things, my grandfather didn't teach me things. I don't have that gap anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it completely changed me and gave me the conviction of, yes, this is the path you are on.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
before you tell me about the second journey, I just want to ask, for you've got a daughter and a son, and now that you had that opportunity to watch this coming of age, this rite of passage 1,000 times, how are you thinking about that for your children?
Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. that was one of the biggest questions that I was asking myself after that weekend, after that retreat, was how do I do this for my kids? I mean, our Western culture 100% doesn't care about a coming of age ceremony.
No, we don't have anything.
It's 16.
Right.
You're 16 years old. Here's a car. Go have fun. You have freedom now.
Yeah.
Cool. Like, that
Yeah.
doesn't teach you how to be a human. That doesn't teach you where you came from. That doesn't give you the responsibility and the conviction of knowing who you are and who your family is and who your ancestors were. Like, you don't get that. So it is a question that I'm still exploring. It's a question that I'm still trying to figure out how to answer. And, I achieved this at 37 years old. So I guess you're never too old to really have that experience.
Right.
But my kids are 16 and 14 right now, and I'm feeling a little pressure on the time clock there of, they're going to be out of the house pretty soon. So if I want this to be part of their childhood, part of their young adult, transition, I need to find an answer quick.
Right.
But I
Right.
don't have one right now.
Ah, well, you and I will continue riffing on that offline then, because
Perfect.
I'm obsessed with rites of passage.
Mm,
I love ceremony. I love ritual. And just, growing up overseas, getting to see different cultures and how they address this question of
yeah,
transition from childhood to adulthood. So yeah, yeah,
amazing.
it'd be really fun to talk more on that. But why don't you go ahead and tell me about
Yeah.
the second journey then?
Yeah, so the second journey, I mentioned my intention for that day is, well, I achieved transcendence the first day. Intention checkbox, right? Um, Exploring the future, caution. Anyone who wants to explore the future, caution. The, the future is not set. So if you're going to explore something that's not set, there is no solid ground. And so it was very chaotic, and kind of like flying and floating everywhere, and um, just a lot of like the fuzziness. If you ever played like Age of Empires, or any game where you kind of explore and like the fog of the map gets removed the more you explore the area, um, it was kind of like that, but wherever you explored stayed foggy
Oh, wow.
because it's not set, right? And so, um, I don't know if I'm going to go back and try and explore. It's very intriguing to me, but maybe now that I have some experience, maybe I can navigate a little bit better, or figure it out. Maybe not, because it's not set. Um, but that was kind of in the moment. That's what I got, and I had to actually recognize that I was lost and I was tumbling, and so I started to do some of my breathing techniques. I'm a huge fan of 4-7-8, and so in the moment, I was okay. I have to breathe. I need to right myself, and get on solid ground. Let's kind of stop exploring the future. Um, so I did some breathing exercise in there, um, and then kind of what happened is I transitioned from that moment of exploring the future into a moment of just true understanding of who I am as a being. And in the moment, it felt like I was a clay, hollow thing, but who I was the outline of a clay figurine. And something that was just super interesting to me was I knew 100% who I was, and that I had space inside of me to give to someone else. And in that moment, someone else in my group that was on their journey, um, they needed they needed to release energy, and I felt that. I felt that happening in the room. So I, knowing who I was, that I was a vessel and I had some space, I accepted their energy. And as soon as I did, they started crying. And I just sat there and just kind of let it flow in and flow in. And then one of the facilitators came over after a minute or two, put their hand on my shoulder, and I started transferring the energy to them out into, the universe, out into the space. And as soon as I transferred all of the energy I just collected through them, as soon as that last bit left me, the person that I took it from stopped crying. It was amazing. It was so cool.
Incredible.
And then right after that, I started traversing across a desert for 40 years. And so um, it was super interesting. And in the moment, again, I'm practiced with breathing techniques. I'm practiced with meditation. I kind of know how this works. So I let my body just kind of take care of itself, so I could focus on the journey that I was taking.
Yeah.
And so my body grabbed my water bottle. It drank whenever it needed it, and my breathing slowed and my heart rate slowed a lot, to the point where in my journey it felt like I was only taking one breath a year. It was super fascinating, just to really separate the mind and body and allow the body to do what it needs to do to take care of itself. That was really cool. Um, but at the end of this traversing of the desert, I immediately started crying. And I'm not one to cry. Crying isn't a thing for me. Hasn't been since I was 10 years old. I just don't.
Yeah.
Unless like I pull a nose hair or like something
Right.
physical, physical happens to me that makes me cry. But nothing, emotional, like I don't
Right.
cry.
Interesting.
And I started crying, and I didn't know why. Like, why am
Mhm.
I crying? But I was bawling. Like, there was a lot of tears. There was a lot of, running nose happening.
Yes.
And about halfway through, I realized that I was truly like, I was crying because I missed my family.
Mm.
And it, and then that, recognizing that made me cry even harder, and even more of like, oh my God, I now miss my family, and I have this feeling of missing,
Yeah.
and an appreciation for my family. And it's like not a to the level that I've ever felt before. And so I cried. I cried a lot. There was a huge puddle, a mountain of tissues, and like handfuls. Like I think probably like three or four different handfuls of throwing them away. It was a lot of tissues.
Yes.
Um, but it was really kind of in that moment that I really realized that I just missed my family. And what happened was, after my dad died, after a couple of years, I just kind of shut off those emotions except anger.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the first major thing that I worked through in my late 20s, was like the anger issue, kind of worked through that. But
Yeah.
this one was uh, different, because when I joined the military and when life kind of just came, in my face of like, hey, you have to step up now. Um, I never allowed myself to actually miss my family, to ever actually feel that feeling, because if I did, doing what I needed to do would have been unbearable.
Yeah.
And so I killed that emotion while I was in the Marine Corps. While I was flying drones, I killed that emotion because I was gone all of the time, and I couldn't be present. And so that just killing that emotion perpetuated. After I was home, it didn't really change. Like everything was just kind of normal. I was home, and things were fine. We were all good. but I didn't know that I could actually have that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was super cool to actually like get that.
I'm gonna have to send you a photo. There is a piece of art that a friend shared with me, and it's this drawing of kind of a maybe like a skeleton like figure, and it says, "I sat with my anger long enough until she told me that her name was grief,"
Nice. Yeah. That's
which
awesome.
which is what your story reminds me of.
Yeah. That's
Um,
fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to know, since that journey, obviously you're still, integrating and you're still, kind of taking the lessons, the insights. But if there's anything that you've noticed in terms of your approach to your role as a leader, how has it impacted your either leadership style? Do you feel like there are skills that you gained that perhaps weren't accessible before? Or are you just, showing up more authentically?
I would say that this journey really comes on the heels of 8 years of self practice of doing a lot of those things, and a lot of breathing techniques, a lot of meditation, a lot of being open to the flow of energy and the flow of the universe. And so, with all of that practice and all of that background, what this has done is just enhanced those skills that I've learned over the years,
Yeah.
enhanced my ability to allow other perspectives to exist and how to communicate with other perspectives, if they need to change or are different than mine, right? Running a business, I can't let everyone else run the business. I have to run it. So, allowing their perspectives, their ideas to exist and taking them in, authentically, and then adjusting or letting, you know having a conversation of, well, this is why that can't happen, um, allowing those to happen. But then also, I think it's helped in recognizing other people's energy and flow and where they're coming from. I have a habit that I'm working through, still kind of working through of my on my own, is, um, I have this perception that everyone else is perfect and I'm the one that's messed up.
Mm,
And so whenever people come to me with a different idea, different perspective or approach, I'm immediately wrong and they're immediately right, without me recognizing that maybe they're going through a hard time in their life, and maybe I'm right and they're wrong, in their approach, right? And so I think that's changed a little bit, just to allow me to recognize that, energy that people are coming to a conversation with me with, and that, maybe they're going through something that's causing them to have this kind of reaction or this kind of perspective, and it's not maybe necessarily my fault.
yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. I love that you have these things that you're bringing in to, I mean, really, yeah, bringing into focus these skills and tools
Hmm.
and things that you've been honing already for 8 years to have it really kind of crystallize, solidify for you, with this experience, and to still have the awareness of, oh, there's, here's this other area that I'm still working to shift, and, to show up differently and kind of question that underlying assumption of I'm immediately wrong, they're
Yeah.
immediately right. And really, really to assess, the energy that someone is arriving with and how that's influencing, what it is that they're saying or the perspective that they're sharing.
Yeah. It's been, a lot of fun. It's been really impactful in conversations for me to say, hey, where are you coming from? Here's what I'm picking up. Where are you coming from? Just allow me to explore that more. Just be curious more, which just allows for a greater understanding and a much better conversation than if everything stays unknown.
Exactly. And then you get
Yeah,
to more creative solutions that way too.
absolutely.
Amazing. Well, we're coming to our time, Justin. So let me wrap with this question. Is there anything that you are feeling excited about for the future, either yourself or for neesh.ai? What's on the horizon? What are you looking forward to?
Oh man, community and humans really learning and finding what it means to be human again. I think that over this era of automation and efficiency and productivity and pushing for all of that, we've been at this game for a long time. I'm not a historian, so don't take these timelines as absolute, but 100-ish years plus or minus a few. We've really been at this era of find productivity, find efficiency wherever you can, become a robot. Forget certain parts of being human because it doesn't work in the business world or professional world. And so
Mhm.
I'm really excited with the combining of human plus AI and allowing this technology to take on a lot of those repetitive tasks, a lot of the areas where we're trying to find more efficiency, where we're trying to find more productivity, allow artificial intelligence technology to take that on while being guided by humans. And then
Yeah.
we can let go of that and shift our focus to what does it mean to be human again? What does it mean to have connection again? What does it mean to have community again? Especially coming on the heels of COVID and everything that ensued for a couple of years, and forced separation and right. So I'm just really excited about integrating this technology in a meaningful way that allows humans to be more human.
I love that. Yeah, bringing back the human element.
Yes,
Well, we will link to the company website. You guys also have a newsletter, so we'll put the option to subscribe to that, and then we'll put a link in for LinkedIn so people can connect with you there as
amazing.
well. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Justin. I really appreciate you sharing your story so vulnerably and just all of the beautiful insights and how you're working to integrate those. And I'm excited to see what happens with you and with your company.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Victoria. This is awesome. Thanks for letting me share my story.
You're very welcome.